Y'all wanted a tier list, so here you go. Um, it's important to note that my tier list is not going to be a representation of the champions' kits. It's going to be a reflection of how the champions function in correlation to the new items and how they're going to fit when matched up against other champions. So obviously League of Legends got huge item updates, so we're going to be looking at the items and then what champions are going to have their weaknesses covered by the new items and which ones are going to be having their strengths buffed, and then we're going to be using that to kind of put them into their different tier brackets. This is an opinion for Swagger, who I know is going to be upset at some of my decisions in this, but I'll be using, facts and objective truths when I make it, but I could just be wrong on these, so this is an opinion piece, not a Bible, if that makes any sense. So to start, we're going to be looking at our tiers, which is highest being pick or ban. These are the ones that you are going to want to be able to play flawlessly because they're just going to be blatantly overpowered with these. Then amazing and or good into everything. These are champions that aren't going to be so incredibly busted that you have to pick or ban them, but are still going to be incredibly solid in every situation. Strong but with a few weaknesses. Those are the ones that have really high counter pick potential, but very easily counter picked. Polarized, those are ones that are, if they're in a losing matchup, you're screwed, and if you're in a winning matchup, congratulations, have fun on your W. Then terrible, skip over, don't bother. These are the ones that are going to be probably irrelevant 99% of the time, but you might have some value in that 1%. And then for when Ho is being a pussy tier, and that's going to be reserved for only champions that Ho can play. So we're going to start off with AP champions and then go down to the very few mid lane AD assassins. This came out, this list that I'm using came out before Seraphine, Kiana, and Yone exist. So Kiana will most likely be in the same bracket as like Talon, and Yone obviously will be identical with Yasuo because of how similar their kits are. Seraphine isn't really tried and tested enough to really be worth placing, so we're probably just going to skip over her regardless. So we'll start off the list with Ahri. Ahri was a champion that got a lot of value out of Luden's Echo to be able to burst down opponents and get burst access. So with the adjustments made to Luden's Echo, having it be a 10-second cooldown rather than based off of spell spamming, Ahri wasn't really centered around spell spamming much, so I don't really think that there's anything in this that's going to be able to change much in her kit that would decrease or increase her tier. So she's probably just going to be remaining a solid pick that's strong into most things, Ahri being a good assassin. So we'll put her in this list just to start. This may be adjusted later on. Annie is up next. So Annie's an interesting character in the sense that she can do everything very, very well. She can burst, she can sustain, she can access with her new movement speed buff, so I can see actually a lot of variations of Annie being strong. So she could go like a Leandre's build here with the new dot and percent health and just stack HP and be like Giga Tank Buster with like Rylai's, Leandre's, Ozkana's Embrace, all that stuff, and just be Giga God. Or she could go for one-shot variation with Luden's Tempest, and I think her ability to get in and get out with this new movement speed increase in Luden's is actually going to make her very, very, very strong. All these new items I can see working well on Annie, except maybe Riftmaker. Like, I don't see that one being strong on Annie, but like Night Harvester obviously is going to be super strong on Annie. Rocket Belt, you can dash in. This actually is one of the items that I don't think is going to be too strong in a majority of champions, but it'll be interesting to see. So I think she'd stick around Luden's Tempest or Leandre's Anguish based off of the ability haste or the burst. So I think Annie is going to be up here. Aurelion Sol, with the new abilities, so Aurelion Sol's an interesting one because he wanted to be HP tanky because he didn't have very good mobility and range, so he had to have the ability to tank a lot of damage, which is why Aurelion Sol's frequently built Roa, Rylai's, and Liandry's. With the removal of GLP and the removal of Roa, I think a lot of the Roa champions are going to be pretty weak. Liandry's Anguish is going to be strong, but the ability haste won't be giving him much benefit. He'd much rather have the 5 magic penetration that you'd get off of a Ludens, but you want the Liandry's instead of the Ludens, so it's difficult to put Aurelion Sol in a good spot with this new update. Just because he can't build Roa. That's it. And Liandry's no longer gives him the HP that he needs, so he's going to be squishier, and he's going to be doing less damage because he's going to be dying faster. So I think he's going to be polarized. Akali. So, biggest thing to take into consideration, GLP was removed. Gunblade. Gunblade was removed. So, Akali has no real way to sustain the laning phase pre-finishing her Riftmaker. So if we're looking at this, so this is what you'd want to be going on Akali, because you must be able to sustain through a laning phase as a melee champion, otherwise you're just going to get bursted by Syndra or Annie, and you're just going to die. So this is what we'd be wanting on an Akali, because of the Omni Vamp. 15% ability haste is going to be useless on Akali. HP 150, okay, that's pretty irrelevant. For each second in champion combat, deal 3% bonus damage, max 15%. At maximum strength, the bonus damage is dealt as true damage instead. Okay, well, Akali's an assassin. She's not really going to be having many situations where she's going to be in combat for that many seconds to be able to do 15% bonus true damage on someone that she's supposed to be able to one-shot anyways. So I don't think Akali's going... you could make, an argument for, Night Harvester, maybe. She doesn't want the ability haste. With an ability haste as its mythic, that's fucking... No. This is... No. Just don't. So, we'd probably be looking for something like this on an Akali. I could see this being very strong, even though it is AD based. So, dash through target enemy, dealing 100 plus 30 bonus AD. Physical damage for the next 3 seconds, you do 15% increased damage to the target, grant all other legendary items 5 lethality. So if this was AP, this would make Akali, pick ban, god tier, ridiculously busted, nothing you can do about it. But the issue is you don't want lethality on Akali, you don't want lethality here, and you don't want that much AD on Akali because she is primarily AP. So that means we're going to be relegating Akali to Liandry's and or Ludens. But 600 mana, useless for Akali, and 600 mana, useless for Akali. So, that leaves us with, Everfrost? Protobelt, maybe? Protobelt, but then you don't get any, I don't know. Akali's gonna be shit, I feel. Akali's not gonna be very strong. So, I'm a deposit her there in terrible skip over, don't bother. Like I said, this is probably one of the champions. If I was going to be wrong on a champion, Akali's going to be the one. They gave her some slight buffs to compensate, but I don't think they are good enough. For all I know, she's just completely fucking busted with Rocket Belt, and she gets into some more of the legendary shit, and it just makes her OP. I don't know, let's take a look. I don't know. Damaging, it's just no useless. Demonic Embrace, that'll be alright, but that's only the really one. Yeah, no, I'm calling it now. She's gonna be shit because there's no mythic item that works well with her. Sorry, Akali. Anivia. So, there's a certain category of mid lane champions that do benefit from having a Seraph's Embrace. But most of those champions were taking Rod of Ages to kind of couple down on the mana gain with Seraph's Embrace. So, if we want to go look at Seraph's Embrace, where is that fucker? Right here, Archangel Staff. So, Tear of the Goddess, needlessly large rod, Sapphire Crystal, plus 1,000 gold. So it costs 3,000, gives 60 AP. That ain't much. 400 mana, that ain't much. Effects. Gain bonus ability power equal to 3% of your maximum mana. Sounds alright. Mana charge. Striking target with an ability to consume a charge and gain 3 mana. Gain total AP equal to 5% maximum mana. Increase your total mana by 5%. Like, this will be nice on Anivia. I think it'll be an overall buff. But with the removal of Roa, she doesn't have any capability to accessing HP pre-mythic items, and she doesn't really have any way to sustain. So she'd probably be going Leandre's Anguish, no more HP on this, so she's not going to be very tanky. So I think she's going to be capable of doing more damage, but she's going to be squishier on the receiving ends of things, and she's going to be able to access her damage quicker due to the ability of starting with Tier. So I think we're going to have Anivia in Polarized. If she's getting stomped, she's getting stomped. If she's ahead, she's just going to absolutely face roll anyone that she wants to face roll. Excuse me. Azir. My main man, Azir. So, Azir's one of those champions that you can do anything you fucking want on Azir and it's valid. So, if I had to bet, I'd say that we're probably going Leandre's Anguish on Azir, because we want the ability haste, we want the mythic ability haste. His ability to damage multiple champions in one go-through to get this off is quite strong. He does well in sustained fights due to his high mobility, and he doesn't really need the movement speed bonus that we're getting here from Ludens, because his job is basically to stand there and right-click on you with Sand Soldiers. So let's just, for now, say that we're going Leandre's Anguish, unless they've got, like, you know, 5 melee champions, and you're just gonna Shurima Shuffle and hit all of them with your Naya Harvester and do god tier damage. So, theoretically, if we're basing him in Leandre's Anguish, I think this is gonna be very strong for Azir. Quicker access into this, and it also gives him the ability haste that he needs without having to deviate his build into a Lost Chapter item previously, like Luden's Echo. The main catch for Azir is the changes that were made to Nashor's Tooth. Where is that? Nashor's Tooth. So, Recurve Bow, Blasting Wand, Amp Tome no longer grants CDR, but grants better on-hit damage with better scaling, and has 20 more AP. So this is going to be making Azir strong, because obviously 20 more AP and 10% more AP scaling on hit. We weren't really, because Sand Soldiers don't proc on hit damage, this does nothing for Azir. This adjustment right here is useless. That does nothing. This is a huge hit to his itemization, and 20 more AP, who gives a shit? It's 20 more AP. So Nashor's Tooth, actually a bit of a nerf, or actually a lot of a nerf, because that 20% CDR that he's no longer getting is a big deal. However, buff to Rylai's Crystal Scepter, 30% slow in contrast to 20% means you're going to have more time to attack people with said Sand Soldiers. So I think the strong build that people are going to be going on Azir is they're going to be going for the Leandre's item, and then they're going to be getting a Rylai's. There might be some Hell World where we start off with a Tier on Azir because he has such good scaling and such good early game. And then he's going to want to go into the one with Azkana's Embrace. This one, Demonic Embrace. Azkana's Gaze, dealing ability damage, burns enemies for 1.5% max health damage. So he's basically just going to become a variation of a dot champion. And I think that's fine, because with the changes made to Leandre's, where its mythic empowerment is ability haste versus AP or something like that, is going to be able to kind of counteract the loss of not having the CDR on Nashor's. So I think he's going to be pretty much the same, maybe a little bit stronger, just because of how good this is, this Leandre's Anguish item. So I think we're going to go ahead and safely put Azir here. I think it's going to be more difficult for him to access his damage, so we're going to put him here for now. We might change that later on when we examine other champions. Brand, pick ban, absolutely. So previously, Brand had two decisions that he had to make. Brand's choices were, I can go Luden's Echo first for the 20% CDR, and I can take Transcendence, get 30% CDR, and then get one quick item afterwards, be max CDR, and then I can spec into my Leandre's and my Rylai's and all that good shit. Now he doesn't have to choose, because Leandre's Anguish gives him the ability haste that he needs, grant all his other legendary items the ability haste that he needs, and also gives him the Leandre's Anguish passive. And then when you combine that with Demonic Embrace, it also gives him the tank stats that he needs to be able to do damage. Couple that with a Dark Harvest, and his damage is going to be fucking insane. Brand is going to be one of the best mages in the game. I'm calling it right now. And the other thing worth mentioning is the changes made to Doran's Ring are actually significant on him, because whenever he kills minions that are already affected by his blaze, he refreshes his mana. And with new Doran's Ring, when you're full on mana and units die, it will restore 3 HP. So he's theoretically going to be restoring, for math's sake, 20 HP on every minion wave, assuming you hit every one, while retaining full mana. So he's going to be able to permanent push, he's going to have one-shot capability. Being able to access this ability haste means Brand is literally going to be able to perma-stun you with his Q at 4 items. Like, mathematically, Brand will perma-stun you at 4 items. That's fucking ridiculous. And he doesn't have to do any variation in his build. Like, it's going to be get Leandre's Anguish, get Rylai's Crystal Scepter, and the game's over. And I'm not joking. Like, it's going to be that strong. So Brand, obvious pick ban. Cassiopeia wants Tear of the Goddess. With the removal of the shield on Seraphs, she's going to be weaker, because that's one of the main ways that she sustains through fights. Leandre's Anguish, going to be obviously very, very strong on Cassiopeia. Rylai's very strong on Cassiopeia. Honestly, I think there's a situation where... let's see if I can't find it. Where is it? There's one specific item I was thinking of that's going to be giving Cassiopeia some pretty... this one, right here. Cosmic Drive. So 30 ability haste. That's alright. I mean, you don't really want CDR on Cassiopeia because her E is on such a low cooldown already, but dealing damage with abilities grants you 10 plus 20 ability... 10 plus 20% of your ability haste movement speed for 4 seconds. That's going to be able to combat the fact that Cassiopeia doesn't start with boots. It's going to give her the HP that she needs to balance out, and it'll give her some good amount of AP. So I think Cassiopeia is going to remain strong, but isn't going to be busted. So probably something like this. I don't know. I think I can see her struggling to Assassins. Then again, most champions struggle against Assassins, but this right here is safe. Cho'Gath, I don't think there's anything in this new set that makes him worth playing. I'm not going to categorize him. Diana. She is going to be one of these champions that I think is going to be more conditional than people are giving her credit for. So she can obviously go Night Harvester, which is the main one that we're looking at. Damaging a champion deals an additional shitload of damage, magic damage, and grants you 25 movement speed, so this allows her to hit one champion, reposition herself, ult, do metric shitloads. There also could be tank variations with this, where you go magic penetration build with like an Asher's Tooth, and you try and sustain through team fights. You might even be getting like Spirit Visage, or some shit like that. Hextech Rocket Build, better backline access. Like, this is going to be strong on her, this is going to be strong on her, this is going to be strong on her. Everfrost, don't talk to me about that item. Luden's Echo, obviously going to be strong on her, 30% movement speed, increased burst. And Leandre's Anguish, that'll just give her tank buster variation if she wants to have it. I don't think she's going to be pick ban. Oh no, she might be pick ban. Yeah, we'll put her in pick ban. Echo, my boy. So, Echo is another one of those champions where, from a mid lane perspective, he needs HP to be able to sustain through the laning phase. right? So this is why we rush Protobelt on Echo a majority of the time, because it gives him the CDR that he needs, it gives him the HP that he needs, and it gives him access and burst. So that's been converted into this Lassie right here. 250 health, 80 AP, 15 ability haste. Grants magic penetration, so this I'm actually a big fan of for this item. Instead of it granting flat AP or ability haste, I think magic penetration on this, because this is primarily going to be used on AP assassins. Excuse me. I think this will be the go-to for Echo mid. Maybe you could make an argument for Night Harvester. I could see that being strong. Luden's Echo could also be very, very strong. I think he's going to be good. I don't think he's going to be busted. So we'll just put him there for now. Especially with the changes made to Doran's Ring, where you can't get that on your first back and increase your sustainability with Corrupting Potion. That's going to hurt Echo a very good amount. Fiddlesticks. Fiddlesticks, honestly, like, he's kind of niche. Many people would consider Fiddles Middles to be kind of troll. I honestly think it's quite strong. So, I mean, if you think about it, there's no real aspect of his kit that isn't capable of making him a mid laner. Like, there's Hellworld, where you go like Everfrost, land the root, channel their ult in front of their face, and just 100 to 0 them, where they sit there completely stunned, and then just, you know, horror and agony as you cackle, and crows pluck their eyes out. Night Harvester, like, damaging a champion with does that much damage, grants you 25 movement speed with a 60 cooldown per enemy, 60 seconds with an ability haste passive, like, that's huge. You can be proccing that every single time with your ultimate. This is going to be huge on Fiddlesticks. I can also see Leandre's Anguish variation being incredibly huge if they have a lot of tanks. So Leandre's or Night Harvester are going to be our two go-tos, with Zhonya's being cheaper, Magic Resist being overall nerfed in this patch. Fiddlesticks is going to be... he's going to be busted. We'll put him here, just because of how susceptible he is to AD Assassins in the early game. Fizz, I mean, he's pretty much going to be the same. I don't see anything changing with Fizz. Protobelt Galio. Galio's just going to be worse in general. Magic Resist was nerfed. His ability to access Magic Resist is nerfed. Hextech Rocket Belt, big nice, but grants all legendary items 5 magic penetration. You really want penetration on your tank mid laner? No, you don't. You want something like this, but do you really want to be in combat that long? I don't know. You gotta pick and choose, and you don't want this because you have to have your dash, so he's not going to be able to build both like you used to. You'd go Protobelt into Banshee's Veil with Merc Treads and then Leandre's to get your build path itemized out. I don't know. I think he's going to be very polarized. Heimerdinger, New Leandre's big, strong. I think he's going to be the same as he was. He's going to be a polarized champion. Karma. This is one that I've been looking forward to. So Karma was a champion that you wanted both Luden's and Leandre's on because of the need for CDR and the fact that she has such good AoE and sustained fight potential. So Leandre's now fits both those roles through the ability haste and sustained magic damage through team fights. So Leandre's Anguish, you could honestly even go the Omnivamp item. I think that would be very, very strong. Yeah, Karma mid is going to be very strong, especially with her shield. There's not really much that you can do to punish her. She has very good all-in potentials. She has very good disengage and sustain. Big good. Kassadin. Polarized. For sure polarized. So he's one of those ones. He's going to fall in the same category as like Anivia and Aurelion Sol. in the sense that when he's up against AP champions that he can just outpoke with his Q, he's going to be fine. He can start off with tier, which is good, but he has no Roa, so he has much less all-in potential. Also, Seraph's grants him no shield, so he has less all-in potential in that regard too. So I can honestly see Ludens being our primary item on Kassadin, because I mean, obviously it speaks for itself. That damage is no fucking joke. Omnivamp might exist. Night Harvester also might exist. Honestly, like if we're discussing this, if we're talking about Night Harvester versus Luden's Echo, because if we think about it, so Luden's Echo, damaging abilities deal additional 100 plus 15% of your AP, and grants you 30% movement speed for 2 seconds, but it's on a 10-second cooldown, and grants Magic Pen. And then if you look at Night Harvester, which gives a little bit less AP and much less mana, and less ability haste, but grants ability haste on the Mythic, but does 175 to 250 based off of your level, plus 15. So obviously this passive is so much stronger than a Luden's passive. This passive is blatantly better than Luden's Echo. The only issue is you don't want 5 ability haste on Kassadin. You don't want this 15 ability haste on Kassadin. And you need him to have mana because of how his ultimate works. So you need this 600 mana. So whilst you can look at it and go, oh, well, Night Harvester is better than Luden's. Is it really, though? Because you don't get 600 mana. Kassadin needs that mana, like non-negotiable. He has to have it. So you'd go Luden's Tempest. So I think he's going to be alright. I don't think he's going to be as good as he is currently with the removal of Roa. Katarina, they removed Gunblade, which is her core ability to access enemy champions and sustain through lane. And then they gave her this weird ass shit where her abilities do unhit damage, but scale worse with AD. So she's an AD champion now, but has all AP scaling items. I mean, scaling abilities. So you're going to be wanting to go Blade of the Ruined King, Nashor's Tooth, Gwynsu's, maybe even fucking Runan's Hurricane, I don't know. But yeah, I don't see her being good. She'll have too many items in her required kit to be able to actually do damage. CC is just going to shit on her. Yeah, I don't see this champion being strong. Rest in peace, Katarina. Actually, no, this is... There you go. That's that. LeBlanc. LeBlanc was one where she took Ludens, but she was never able to proc it twice throughout the duration of one team fight. So this right here is just a flat. This is just a flat buff to LeBlanc. Just a flat all across the board buff to LeBlanc. She's going to be extremely powered, overpowered, maybe even pick ban. Like if there was something here, we will. Oops, what did I just do? No, what did I just do? There we go. Let's maybe Super Imba. There we go. We'll put them there. They're good and amazing into everything, but may or may not be pick ban. No, thank you. Next on the list, Lysandra. So Lysandra is one of those ones where she's going to... She previously took Luden's Echo because you wanted the ability haste of the previous Ludens, but you also wanted the Liandre's for the AoE damage. Zonia's easier to get. She's going to be taking Liandre's Anguish 100% of the time because you need this ability haste. You don't want that magic penetration, especially since this already will give you up to 25% against CC targets. So Liandre's Anguish, it's what you want. I've already tested it with both variations. Liandre's Anguish is by far stronger. So she's going to retain the same way that she is, but with one exception. When you get... Where is it? Did I pass it? I probably passed it. Let's see. Yep, here we go. When you get this, dealing ability damage burns enemies for 1.5 of their max health every 4 seconds, and you gain 10 armor and magic resist while a champion is affected. This is basically Aftershock passive. It's very similar, so it'll give her a lot of the sustain that she needs, plus 350 health. Like, this is ridiculous. Lysandra is going to be fucking busted. She's going to be able to burst access, chain CC an entire team, come out of her ulti, and immediately Zhonya's because of how cheap and accessible that item is now. And then have so many tank stats because she's procced her shit so often that she's never going to fucking die. So, Lissandra, we'll go there because I don't think it's going to be blatantly pick ban. Lux, I mean, she's already, like, if I had to place her currently, she'd be amazing and good into everything and has no weaknesses, because she doesn't. Nothing beats Lux. She wants the Luden Tempest, by far, because you're not really going to have any situation where you can land multiple hits of this on different champions. You don't want the HP, you want the better ability haste. I don't know. I think she's going to be strong. I don't think she's going to be better than she currently is, so we'll just put her there. Malzahar is going to be strong for the exact same reason that Brand and Lissandra is, but the kit won't work out as well. He was a champion that went Ludens and also Leandres. Leandres and Ludens are now basically the same item because you get the benefit of both in one, which is the new Leandres. It gives you the CDR that you need as well as the dot. So I think all dot mages are... There's no way that they don't fall in these two categories, so we'll put you there. Morgana, Luden's Tempest champion, possibly Hextech Rocket Belt champion. I can see this being very, very, very strong on Morgana. This also could be very, very strong on Morgana. You do want that mana. 30% movement speed buff, like... So if we look at this, like 100 plus 15, 30% movement speed for 2 seconds in comparison to 200 to 300 on a 40-second cooldown in comparison to 10 seconds with 75% movement speed, like they're very comparable. They're very comparable items. But I think this, with the ability to not need to reposition yourself, gives it a little bit of an edge, as well as having mana. So we'll put her here because of how weak she is to AD. So she's not quite polarized, but she's very, very strong. Nautilus, always polarized, always will be. Nico, don't really need to explain too much. Protobelt, Ludens, Leandres, she can do it all. But when she falls behind, she's very behind. She might be in this category. She'd fall somewhere in between these two, but I will place her here for the sake of it. Orianna, with new tier, you can be able to access tier as well as go Leandres, because you need the CDR. So we've actually looked over this before. So Orianna was a spell spammer, and all spell spammers got nerfed in this patch because of this little thing right here. Luden's Echo's on a 10-second cooldown. Previously, you could cast your Q, W, E to yourself, and then Q out again because it's on like a 1.8 second cooldown, and then have like 2 Luden's procs and like 3 real life seconds. So that made Luden's Echo very, very, very strong. But she also spends a lot of spells, which means Seraph's Embrace was very, very strong on her in general. With the ability to start with tier, I think she's going to be a tier starting champion, and I think she's going to be going into Leandre's Anguish, because you're not going to be able to get the same amount of value out of a Luden's Tempest as you would a Luden's Echo. But, I mean, her AoE, like, this is too hard to ignore. The way that her kit functions, the ability that she's not going to have as many mana issues, because you're going to be able to start with tier. She's safe in laning phase due to the range of her Q. I think this champion is going to be right here. LeBlanc, you can go into pick ban. I've changed my mind. Rumble. He's always going to be amazing, good into everything. Maybe has like a few losing matchups against like ranged poke or like hyper sustain, but I mean, okay, maybe I'm just wrong, honestly. Maybe I'm wrong about Rumble. The reason why is because he's a Leandre's champion, but ability haste is a completely useless stat on Rumble. Same thing with mana. You don't want any of these stats. You don't want that, you don't want that, you don't want that. That's alright. You don't want that. I mean, you can still get Demonic Embrace, so I guess it balances out. Yeah, honestly, Omnivamp, probably going to be good on him. Or Night Harvester. Actually, I could see Night Harvester being super fucking busted. Yeah, no, Night Harvester and or Hextech Rocket Belt, Rumble. I mean, still, like, the ability haste as your mythic passive, that's very weak. That's very, very, very weak. So it would be Rocket Belt. Yeah, it would be Rocket Belt. So if you go Rocket Belt Rumble, he's going to be here or here. We'll just leave him here for the time being. If you go anything else, he's going to be there. But yeah, Rocket Belt Rumble, there and there only. Rise, same concept as Orianna. The lack of Roa makes it difficult to say that he was overall buffed, but the access to this much mana on top of being able to start with a tier with all this ability haste that you need, and you can still go into Rylai's, you can still go into Magic Penetration, and you can still get Demonic Embrace. He's going to be a dot spreading deity that's going to one-shot anyone that he wants to one-shot. Rise, honestly, maybe even pick ban. Maybe pick ban. Maybe. Maybe. We'll leave him there for now, because it does balance out with a lot of his. So yeah, okay. Let's do a little bit more explanation on Rise. So if we think about it, so what did we do on Rise? We started off with a Sapphire Crystal and a refillable potion, and then we ran out of mana in about 5 spells because we're playing Rise, and then we recalled, and then we had our tier, and that was our second back, right? So right now you're going to be able to start off with tier and 2 HP pots, but you're not going to be able to back with a refilled refillable. So your HP sustain is going to be worse, but you're going to have more overall mana because of how many times you've been able to stack it in laning phase, which kind of balances out the need to have the amount of HP, because you're going to be able to get access to your core faster. So it kind of balances out into an overall buff on an already strong late game champion. So yeah, Rise, for sure, buff to tier, and he's the tier champion. He's going to be pick ban. Swain. So if we take a look at this, and then you think Swain, you can see why this champion is obviously going to be pick ban. You could make an argument for Hextech Rocket Belt. You do want the mana over the HP, and you do want the CDR over the penetration. You could make an argument for Riftmaker, which I would completely agree with. Riftmaker would be very, very strong. The only issue with this is you don't want the magic penetration, you want the CDR. I could see I could see Night Harvester. But that would be for like burst damage. So if you're not fighting tanks, you'd go Night Harvester. If you are fighting tanks, you'd go Leandre's. So Squishy, he's going to be able to fit the role of a tank bester and an assassin that also has shitloads of HP and can't die and sustains through everything. So Swain, obvious pick ban. Silas, he fulfills the exact same role as Echo, but with higher dependency on champion matchup. So he's either, he's going to be here or he's going to be here. There is no in between. When we look at him in combination, like Leandre's Anguish, yeah, that's fine. Ability Haste, good for you. Luden's Tempest, like he wants to be able to build all of these, but he can't. He can only pick one, and it would probably be this one, but you don't really want the magic penetration because he doesn't do much upfront damage. You'd want the... Actually, I lied, you wouldn't want that. Yeah, I think he's going to be alright. Honestly, Silas might be one of the only champions that you would go Everfrost on, if I'm being perfectly honest. Specifically for this reason, grants all legendary items 15 AP. His E has 100% AP scaling, and this gives him HP and mana. He wants all of these things. So this one right here maybe works well on Silas. It gives him the ability to access that he wouldn't otherwise have. Honestly, this might work with Echo as well. This might work with Echo because you could chain it into your W if you land that 1.5 second root. This could actually be very strong on Assassin AP champions. So I think with that item in mind, we can safely put Silas here. Syndra, same reason as LeBlanc. She's not a spell spammer. She just wants to QE 100 to 0 you, and Luden's Echo is going to make you do that better than she already could, and she was already top tier. Talia. Talia is a champion where you needed both Leandre's and Luden's to be viable, but you also needed that one-shot burst because she's an assassin, but you also needed the dot because she's sustained. So she needs a combination of both of these items. She can't have both, so she'd probably favor towards the Luden's Tempest. That extra movement speed, honestly, like, yeah, she doesn't deserve that. She'll be very polarized. I don't think she'll be strong, but with a few weaknesses, she's going to be polarized. Teemo, he's going to be amazing because Luden's and Leandre's, he gets the CDR that he needs, he gets the damage bonus that he needs. New Nashor's Tooth is going to be fantastic on him because you don't need that much CDR. He has 2 dot items instead of 1. All dot mages just went up like 2 tiers. Twisted Fate, with the removal of Roa, he got hurt a lot. He doesn't last long enough in team fights because of the lack of HP to be able to proc enough Leandre's to get usage out of it. He doesn't want that much CDR. He wants the burst, but he doesn't want the magic penetration. You'd probably go Luden's Tempest or Everfrost. I don't see this being useful on TF. I don't see any of these being useful on TF. I think he's going to be able to ult into a backline, gold card someone for a shitload of damage, and then run away at the speed of light. I think the variations where we go hybrid tank, Twisted Fate are gone. That's not going to exist anymore. We honestly might see variations of Twisted Fate where we get Horizon Focus, dealing damage to a champion with non-target ability over 750 range, or immobilizing them reveals them and increases their damage taken by you by 10% for 6 seconds. So land a Q, they take 10% more damage, or if you root them, makes them take 10% more damage for 6 seconds. So this I will see actually being quite strong on Twisted Fate. This one as well, going to be quite strong on Twisted Fate. I mean, he can kind of work with everything, but he doesn't really do anything fantastic. So I think he's going to be polarized. Veigar is one of those few champions that I can see taking, what's it called? This one, Everfrost, because you can get that guaranteed slow setup. This would also work off of Glacial Augment, but Glacial Augment doesn't really exist anymore because they got rid of Spooky Ghosts and GLP. So Glacial Augment champions, just flat nerfed. You have to build this bullshit, and this is supposed to make up for Spooky Ghosts and GLP. No, you'd go Luden's Tempest. But Veigar is as Veigar does. He might be terrible. I think he's going to be terrible. Probably going to be terrible. With how strong I think AD Assassins are going to be, it's going to be difficult to categorize him, because he's, again, one of these champions that wants both Luden's and Leandre's, because he needs the burst from the Luden's, but he also has the sustain because he's so pokey. So he wants to be able to have this with all of this. You can't have both. You can't really build this because when you ult, that's how you get those multi-hits, and this 25% movement speed completely lost. Same thing with the 30% movement speed on Luden's Echo. So yeah, he's either going to be terrible or polarized. Victor, pick ban, for sure. He didn't need the burst from Luden's Echo, but he got it anyway because he needed the CDR. So you rush Leandre's Anguish, you get all the CDR that you need, you get the more damage sustain that you need, you get the magic penetration with all of your sustained damage ulti. You no longer have to build your hex score to get your items, you can get that off of scaling, which you get off farm, which he can one-shot because they buffed his E by 10%. Double dot items, everything works on this champion, he's going to be busted, pick ban, for sure. Vladimir. Return of the King. Because of this item and this item alone. This is going to make Vladimir the single strongest thing in League of Legends, next to maybe Brand. Calling it right now. Gig God Vladimir has returned. Xerath, as much as I hate it, he's going to be... I mean, he is much safer than Vel'Koz. But the catch is because his Q does AoE, whereas Vel'Koz's doesn't, he actually gets a lot more value out of this Liandry's Anguish than Vel'Koz would, which puts him up a lot higher tier than Vel'Koz, in my opinion. So I think it's safe to put Xerath here for now. Ziggs kind of fits into the same category. He's going to be more polarized than either of these. Zoe. Luden's Tempest Zoe. How do I feel about this? How do I feel about Night Harvester Zoe? You don't want that movement speed. You're already half a mile away and you want the Ludens. You can get every 10 seconds. I think she's just going to do everything that she did before. So, there we go. Zyra. As much as I love her mid lane right there. Same thing with Lulu. Same thing there. So, these are the big four. These are the ones that everyone has been waiting for. Corki. New crit AD items are ridiculously overpowered. But with how difficult it is to access crit, we're going to be looking at something like this for Corki build, right? Basic attacks grant 25 movement speed for 3 seconds. If the target is a champion, increase your base attack damage by 6%, stacks up to 5 times, max 30%. That's fucking enormous. This right here, Corki, huge. These, not so much. That, not so much. That's alright. You do not want attack speed on Corki. You want attack damage. After using an ability, your next basic attack is enhanced with additional 200% base AD. Where is it? This is the one. So after using an ability, your next basic attack is enhanced with an additional 10% of the target's max health as physical damage. If the target is a champion, restore 50% of the damage, 30% for ranged units, grants all legendary items 5 armor pen and 5 magic pen. So this is interesting because Corki does not want armor penetration. He doesn't want armor penetration in the slightest. He needs magic penetration because there's nothing in the game that gives Corki the magic penetration that he needs that scales off of AD. So this is an item that I could actually see making Corki even more viable than he already is, even though we're probably still going to be going Trinity Force, if I'm being perfectly honest. You could make an argument for something like Blade of the Ruined King Corki in combination with maybe like a Duskblade, but you don't want the lethality, so none of these lethality items are going to be very strong. Kraken Slayer. I don't know. I don't know. Wait, doesn't... Where is it? If Death Stance gives Omnivamp, Corki's going to be overpowered. If Death Stance does not give Omnivamp, Corki is going to be alright. Where are you? This is actually going to be very, very strong on Corki. We don't want this. No Omnivamp. Yeah, unless there's like an Omnivamp item that I'm missing that'll help Corki, he's just going to be sticking with Bloodthirster. He's going to be alright. Trinity Force, this is going to be very, very strong on Corki. He's going to be going like Trinity Force into Essence Reaver. Or honestly, maybe there's a Hell World. Where's Essence Reaver? Where is Essence Reaver? Because we want crit. We don't want that Trinity Force bullshit. Where is Essence Reaver? Here we go. Yeah. I don't think, because Corki's a crit champion, so we want this. We don't want that Triforce bullshit, because we don't want that attack speed. I mean, it's not bad, but it's not fantastic. We need access into our crit. So we honestly, we're not going to be going Trinity Force anymore. I don't think anyways. We're probably going to be going into something like, because Corki's one of my favorite champions. I want him to be good. Gale Force, I could see being very, very, very strong on Corki, because he already has a W. Honestly, like Gale Force Corki, that's going to be busted. But 3% movement speed, that's pretty mediocre. That'd be good on Jin. This also gives 10% attack speed. That's not bad. If they're tankier, like Immortal Shield, like all these just look so good on Corki. I can see a world where we go Kraken Slayer into Essence Reaver, into Storm Razor, into Rapid Fire Cannon, into probably like Runeance Hurricane or some shit like that, and have him have like 100% crit with all this OP bullshit tagged on him. I think it's gonna be good. I think Corki's for sure here. Talon, if we're looking at, where is the fucker? Here we go. Like, there's nothing that Talon's going to be able to do with these new items that he couldn't already do before, right? You don't want this ability haste. He's already going to be one-shotting you. Eclipse, Prowler's Claw. This is for sure what you're going on Talon. You're for sure going Prowler's Claw on Talon. I don't think he's going to be pick ban. I think he's going to be here. Honestly, I think for the exact same reason, all AD champions are going to be right here. They're going to be good into everything, but they're not going to be super ridiculously imbalancedly busted. Yeah. Kiana, I think, is actually going to be the one that gets the most benefit out of all these champions. So honestly, I'd put Kiana right here. Yone, same as Yasuo, and Seraphine. Seraphine is going to be pick ban or maybe super imba. So that's that. Hope y'all learned something from Papa Ninja. Enjoy.